All right, we live. All right, a little bit of a delayed start today. I know. Forgive me. Color people time. I apologize. But I'm here. Look, what I need to do is just I gotta really just put all my energy towards YouTube because I won't lie, it's I'm split between like three jobs and one of my jobs had a holiday party and it's too much. It's too much. So I gotta double down on YouTube. But ain't none of y'all worries and concerns. I just gotta do what I gotta do. But I'm gonna just tell you like it is. At a holiday party, I'm getting coming back from. Everyone's like, "No, don't go." I'm like, "Bro, I got to do my other job." They're like, "Other job?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got to do YouTube." They're like, YouTube. So they're about to head to another bar. I don't drink, so I don't need to be there. But after this live is over, I got an after party to go to. Anyway, let me put the link in the chat. Guys, if you want to join, help me run the show tonight. I appreciate you, everybody, tuning in right now. Need y'all. Appreciate y'all. This live is going to be a live where you guys choose a topic, as we always do. Let's have the conversation. I'm gonna give my audience an opportunity to hop on the mic, talk that talk, and so this is our time. More things going on in the world, as you possibly know. I'm trying to stay on top of them. Got a video coming out soon. Almost done with it. Just gotta work the little tweaks out of it, but it's dealing with race, and I think it's gonna be a great video. I think you guys are gonna like it. But it has to do with the fact that I posted something on the Shade Room, and it went viral, and it made me think about how this concept is really prevalent, but no one's talking about it. And that concept simply is that what race are you, right? If you're part black, part white, which one are you? Are you white or black? You know what I'm saying? If you so are you not black if your mom's white, or are you not black if your dad's white? Like, which one is it if you're mixed? So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I did a whole video on that, and hopefully I'll be dropping that tomorrow. So that's that. Other news, I don't really want to get involved in the whole fresh and fit scandal they got going on with the fact that Fresh busted a nut into a 304. I don't really care about it personally, but I know the audience cares about it, so I'll talk about it. Yeah, the boy Fresh is is wilding. I don't know how he could justify smashing the 304 raw and nutting in her, right? There's like two mistakes there. Smashing a raw one, busting a nut too. I don't know how he did that, but that's what he's doing. What else? What else? I think it's a pretty slow news week. I know we had the solar eclipse yesterday. Totality. I didn't watch it. I don't know. Did you guys watch it? Did y'all watch the solar eclipse? Did y'all check it out? I didn't see it. Uh, so that's that. Other than that, uh, I did see an article about Michael B. Jordan talking about he's choosing loneliness over being in a relationship, and you know what, I can kind of relate to that. Um, Being that dating in this economy is so hard, and it's not that. See, some men struggle getting a girl, but even men who could get girls, we don't get the quality of women that once used to be more abundant is like scarce these days. We live in this economy where everybody is just like on this carousel, and it's like we're all taking turns swapping partners. Everybody is jumping ship. It's really sad, bro. It's really sad. And so Michael B. Jordan was talking about how, like, yeah, like he's choosing loneliness over being in toxic relationships, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him. That might be the choice for some people these days. Um, but I don't want to talk about I'm trying to. What I've realized was I put a lot of my personal life on YouTube, And I gotta start dialing that back a little bit. I'm gonna start dialing it back, but I do want to talk about subjects that I can relate to, such as dating. I think, like I said, dating's hard for everybody, not just dudes who can't get girls. It's hard for dudes that can get girls. So you see someone like Michael B. Jordan, who a lot of women consider him very attractive. He's having a hard time in relationships, and I understand why. So guys, let's talk about it. I put the link in the chat. If you want to jump in, let's jump in. Please cam up first. House rules. The house rules is simple. No profanity. Use the word corn star instead of, what I'm talking about. So corn star, grapeseed oil. You know what I'm saying? Use the word grapeseed oil if you got to refer to any SA, right? S assaults, right? So, we don't do it no S assaults, but if you have to mention it, mention that. And let's have the conversation. But I do apologize. Let me hold myself accountable. I was 15 minutes late to work today. I apologize. I work 3 jobs, and then so I gotta really grind on YouTube until I get all that situated where I could just like do this full time. So please, if you guys want to support the channel, support me and what I'm doing, please. We do accept donations, cash apps, all that. The goal is really to be full time by summer if we can. All right, so let's get into it. So let's talk about the Michael B. Jordan thing first. I think it's something to be said if we have movie stars, struggling with women. If we have movie stars who dated, arguably dated one of the hottest girls you could possibly date, struggling with women, right? Michael B. Jordan is suffer from loneliness. And so you wouldn't expect that from someone of his caliber, right? Being a ladies' man. You wouldn't expect that. You would expect him to be someone who had just an abundance of women. So let's get into this article here by Men's Journal covering. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see here. Let's go to share screen. You guys tune in. Please like the video, and it helps the live get out there. All right. So Men's Journal reads, Michael B. Jordan opens up about being lonely and wanting a relationship. Like, can you imagine? Right? You're a movie star, arguably an attractive man, yet you're lonely. And I can relate to this. I can relate to this. It's not easy. It's not easy whatsoever. Doxy Trash says, oh, come on, excuse me. Dating with a purpose is difficult. Like you said, you got 3 jobs. And if high value men have difficulty in getting dumped by Lori is wild. Yeah. But Lori's going to find out long term that, that her time is limited. She's going to find out long term that her time is limited. I'm going to bring the brother Sacred Crowds in here. Sacred, what up, my brother?
What's up?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on?
Okay, good. No, I catching the tail end of that article you're putting up there.
It's talking about, so the article is about loneliness, and Michael B. Jordan, who's arguably a heartthrob of our time, is pretty much saying that he's having a hard time dating women in 2024 as a movie star.
They either want, how do I phrase this? Because it was touched upon earlier in another broadcast. Either they don't want you at all because you're of low status. I'm putting this in my words as I recall. They either don't want you because you're of low status, or they only want you solely because of your status. And then when they've had enough of you or they get bored, they either move on or they play games with you and move on, and so be it, and so on and so forth. you have this in the you have this lack of connection and loneliness epidemic in the in the LGBT world too. Only difference is, as someone else put it, um, there is obviously, especially among men, given that we're creatures of, you know, urges and desires and whatnot, there's more promiscuity. The promise of sexual contact is more pronounced in the gay male world, but
Right.
connection wise, it's as non-existent, if not more non-existent, if not less frequent than in the straight world.
Yeah, because you guys have apps like Grinder, which makes everything completely casual and everyone's tradable, right? I mean, like we don't have, there's no heterosexual version of that. We go on app and look for people who are ready to engage in intercourse today, right now, and they can see where they're located. You know,
I
it's like,
remember. I
whoa,
just remember. I just remember an article, or not an article, but an exchange that was had between other individuals, including myself, on Facebook. This was years ago, a few years ago, not too long ago. But there was a female who made this remark. They said that you guys, if your relationships get violent physically, um, you can, if you, especially if you're similar size, similar build, but even if you have like a black belt or whatever, you can say, okay, you're going to hit me, I'm going to hit you twice as hard. But women are more afraid. They really are. They're physically, they're the weaker sex, and so I think that has it. I think that's what she was getting at, and I think that may play a role. If women were as self-reliant, for lack of a better word, as men were, then perhaps hooking up would be more pervasive in the straight world than it would be. I'm wondering. I could be wrong. Don't.
yeah, I think that's an element, but I also think it has to do with the fact that women tend to prefer deep connection before they engage in intercourse, where men prefer intercourse before deep connection. You know,
You have a.
so
Well, part of this stems from my low opinion. Well, my low opinion of the human race in general, because uh, male or female, I've interacted with a lot of superficial people in my life,
right,
both of both genders, of both sexes, rather.
right. Yeah, so let's go through this article and let's talk about it, right? So it says Michael B. Jordan has been keeping busy in recent years with appearance in smash movies like Creed 3 and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. But having a busy schedule can mean he sometimes has to choose between work and a love life, which, by the way, I think we all can relate on to that because nowadays, with the economy being where it is, we tend to have to work more jobs, and so we have less time for intimacy and recreation. The article continues. Jordan opened up about where his head is at on March 11th appearance on the On Purpose with Jay Shetty podcast. The actor confesses he goes back and forth between wanting partnership and then not knowing what's the best partner for me. That's really interesting. He says in quotes, bringing them into my world, what I got going on isn't easy. That makes sense. He added, and it's not just I love you, you love me. That should be enough, right? It's not quite that simple. Um, I'm going to continue this a little bit and then we can discuss it. Then he says, it's about finding the right person to understand all of me, but then all that comes with me as well. He continued, and understanding that between wanting to be available there for that person while I'm juggling everything else and feeling okay to put the other part of my business down. Yeah, that's a tough place to be in, right? I mean, if you know, you want to be open to dating, but you got to understand that it comes with a sacrifice, and it's just like who's right, who's really worth that sacrifice? Because you know, in the red pill scheme of things, right? They always say your number one thing is your mission, your purpose, your purpose, your purpose. Women are always number two, or if not number three. So for someone like Michael B. Jordan to kind of have to juggle and decide if he's going to make a girl number two or even number one at times must be really hard considering that he has a lot at stake, right? You're talking about movie roles,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking about on screen time. Like that must be really hard.
Most importantly, perhaps of all, his reputation.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, if
Because
you've read the 48 Laws of Power, you know what Robert Greene has to say about a man or a woman's reputation. guard it with your
Well,
life. It's in
do
fact one
share,
of the
do
laws.
share, do share.
I don't remember exactly where on the list of 48 laws of power it's on. I have to look that up on Google, but I believe the law states, that particular law states, your reputation is, paraphrasing, your livelihood, in paraphrasing, guard it with your life.
Mm.
Or
Yeah,
something to that.
Boeing.
I don't know if he said livelihood or if the law says livelihood or if it says something else, but it's on Google. You can Google all the 48 law. You can also Google the 33 laws of seduction from his other works. I'm a big fan of his. I converted over to his stuff early last year, and I always thought, but for years, yeah, we've had this conversation before in our previous in your previous broadcast, that I was an atheist back in my middle school years. I always thought for years in my early 20s or whatever, if there were a book, a good book, a holy book, quasi holy book, I would call it the Book of Human Nature. But when I discovered the 48 Laws of Power, I pretty much thought to myself, well, damn if that doesn't sum up what I had in mind
Yeah, I think.
for human nature.
Yeah, I think. I can't remember the. I was watching a public speaker talking about how even though the social sciences don't pay well, and from like a college standpoint, if you go to college for like the social sciences, they don't
Yeah.
pay well. There's some of the best degrees to major in because your life you're gonna have to deal with people. So knowing and understanding
yeah.
people are gonna be probably the most useful skill you could pick up in any kind of school.
I think if
And
you
I
have the
agree with
time,
that.
okay. I was just going to say, if you have the time and dovetailing what you said, if you have the time and the financial resources, probably the best thing you could do is have that be your minor, where your major would be engineering or something practical or medical science, something that you do with your hands, something that's a skill. But have that, that social science aspect be a minor to your otherwise technical or hands-on major.
Yeah, absolutely. Doxy Trash says Jonathan Majors getting dragged by his ex is a total debacle. Yeah, I mean, and Jonathan Major, that's a great point. We could talk about his case. He was recently sentenced today, and he's lucky he only got probation for his assault case, in which a lot of people thought he was innocent because he showed a video of the person that accused him of assault chasing him down a busy highway. I mean, a busy back street. So which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but through a busy city. You're not familiar with Jonathan Majors? Well, him and actually, it's funny that we're talking about Michael B. Jordan. Him and him both starred in Creed 3, I believe. And Jonathan Majors went through this whole collapse after a woman accused him of assault. So essentially, think of a black man dating a white woman, and she accused him of assault. And he was signed with Disney, and he was doing Disney movies. He got dropped from Disney when that story made headlines. And he actually was in a criminal case, which was essentially settled today, but been going on for the last 6 months or so, in which he had to, he lost his reputation, as you're talking about, guard your reputation. He lost his reputation, over, trying to pursue love, and that's kind of the risk men take. And being his co-star, Michael B. Jordan probably looks at it like, damn, I see what he just went through. I can't risk that. Let's continue with the article though, and then we could kind of give more takes on this. I think this is a good conversation. I definitely want people to keep chiming in. So I appreciate you, Sacred Cows. I appreciate you, Doxy Trash. Let's keep reading. I guess Michael B. Jordan said that doesn't mean he's grown to resent his work necessarily. He says, I love multitasking. I love juggling the balancing act that I do. He said, acknowledging the worst part is the loneliness that comes with that. That is a true statement. I'm going to touch on that, but I'm going to read these next couple parts here. And then he continued, there's a loneliness that I have. The responsibility that you have is isolating, and that weight is isolating. And the weight is isolating. He explained. So I think the worst part of that is that is the feeling like nobody really understands, and sometimes falling into spaces of just being alone, feeling alone. And then he continues, to sacrifice, the compromise that comes with a partnership and a relationship, and understanding how to make that all work. Sometimes it gives me anxiety and pause. He concluded Jordan is not looking for a relationship at the moment, but he knows he does want a family eventually. It would take a very special person to understand and grow with me, he said. This is something, and we can stop the article share here. This is something that I relate to tremendously. Like I feel this, and I think this is one of the most important things we're gonna have to talk about in general, where how life has got so complex and we have become so individualized that we have to look at a partnership or dating someone as a secondary goal. It's not the primary goal, it's a secondary goal. And it's kind of trying to figure out how can we make that secondary goal work while we have a primary goal.
I think if you're trying to do both at the same time, you're far less likely to succeed versus pursuing one and then the other. And men, admittedly, have this. I can see this other individuals I've listened to and whatnot over the years, that men have this luxury more so than women, not only biologically speaking, since we can produce children well into our 70s and even into our 80s or whatever, assuming, of course, we don't have anything wrong down there that needs an operation. But also, a lot of men tend to age better than women do. It's a hot take, and it's probably going to irritate and peel a few people, especially some women who may be watching this program. But nevertheless, they have that luxury. But also, you build your pile of money first, and then you worry and concern yourself with the relationship, a romantic relationship, afterward, among which includes having kids. Now, here's the thing. People want to say, I want my own kids. I want my own kids. I want my own kids. And women, obviously, they are typically rendered infertile after much earlier age, 30 or so years before men are. There's always adoption. That's always an option. And there are plenty of unwanted children out there who need adopted. So,
Yeah, that's these are a lot. I mean, all those subjects could use an entire
plus
live
there's
stream.
also freezing and whatnot. I'm sorry to interrupt, that just came to my mind, but there's also, freezing eggs, sperm and whatnot. If I can
I was reading a study how like freezing, a lot of people that freeze eggs, like only like less than 25% of them actually go through with a fertility of that egg, like less than 25%.
But it fails or something?
Well, they don't. A lot of people, because they can freeze their eggs, it delays them actually finding a partner, and it's almost like they put it off again. Like the first issue was putting off having.
Then they were never meant to have kids. Then they were never meant to have kids. As far as I'm concerned, that's a litmus test for their commitment, for their level of commitment for step 2 versus step 1. Then they've done themselves, and to an extent, they may have done you and your straight and all the straight men out there a favor. They've taken themselves out of the market by virtue of their own selfishness. Look at it that way.
No, I want to touch on that. That's a great point. Agent Crypto says, good evening, gents. What's up, brother? You guys joining the live? I'm going to put the link in the bio. You guys can hop in. Please cam up. Show your face. Wave your hand so we know you're real. You're not a bot. And we keep the conversation going. The conversation is about loneliness, getting together and whatnot. I want to touch on what Sacred Cow just said. When it comes to the freezing eggs thing, and like the study I was telling you about, where how less than 25% of those eggs go through with fertilization, to me, it's two issues. First issue is the woman sees this as an opportunity to prolong their baby making years. And I think that's a bad way of looking at it. I think it's a really bad way of looking at it. In fact, if you need to even consider freezing your eggs, you need to, with all haste, try to find someone, because it's unlikely that a guy with options, which most girls want, a guy that has options, right? They don't want a loser. So they're holding out for this top-notch guy. It's in all likeliness, a guy that has options would probably choose a girl who doesn't have to freeze her eggs. Let's just be honest here. Now, I'm not saying that some girls are not exceptions. There's probably some beautiful women that are the exceptions, and freezing their eggs probably is a good idea if they're up in age. However, it doesn't give them the license to prolong child rearing even further, because that's what I think is happening. The reason why less than 25% of those are actually going and turning into okay, I see Agent Crypto waving. Bro, you could join in. Appreciate you, brother. The reason why that doesn't turn into actual babies is because women are using this as a proxy to be more like men, right? To have the opportunity to say, you know what, if I'm not ready to have kids, I won't have kids. I'll just freeze them and do it later on. And but
Now,
that was the
when
original
the
problem.
when the egg is frozen, when the eggs are frozen, and they decide, say, 10 years or so down the road, that they want to have kids after all, and they have a partner and all, et cetera, et cetera. Do they? How does the process work? Do they put that back in themselves so that they can have the child, or do they have? Do they have the child born externally, either
That's
through
a
a
great question.
surrogate
No,
or
so
in a test tube or something? Because if it's in either one of those two options, especially if it's externally in a test tube or something equivalent, some medical piece of equipment that can do it all external, um, I'm going to have to say I strongly disagree with you in the sense that I think that's an even better. I think it's a great idea. If nothing else, it cuts down on unwanted pregnancies. It cuts down on unwanted childbirths. It will make the adoption centers less overworked, less overstressed, less populated with unwanted children. And since I have an underlying philosophy of there being a better world with a smaller, smarter global population, I think that these achievements, these technological achievements in medical science, advances that end game strategy of mine.
okay. I'm going to touch on that more. Agent, you got something to join in on this? Woman freezing her eggs?
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
Nothing much, nothing much. I think it's crazy. Like, if you got to put yourself in their shoes, like, why? I mean, just the cost of it alone, it just makes no sense, you know? Like, I mean, good to you if you want to be 35, 36, 38, woman and still wanting to have a family that old. I don't know, man. It just seems like we're ass backwards now, you know? It's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I believe that. Look, um, let's say the male equivalent to that is a man growing up and getting his life together. Even though men we have, let's say till I guess, I mean, till forever to have children, I do think we need to take the responsibility to grow up and mature. You don't want to be immature adult. There's nothing cute about that. You know what I'm saying? And so us delaying our maturity unnecessarily just because we could have kids later on in life, I think that's a bad idea. I think if anything, if you want to delay having kids, I think it's still important to become mature now while you're a young adult. And to delay that, I think would be the male equivalent to females freezing their eggs. I think this idea that it's like I could be Peter Pan
Uh-huh.
forever. It's a bad idea, and I think that's what's actually happening with women is women are suffering from this Peter Pan like syndrome. Like I don't have to grow up yet. I could still just freeze my eggs and still do what I'm doing. When realistically, they should have a sense of urgency in being a mother.
Yeah, well said. Totally agree with that. It's crazy. We like circling back to what you guys were talking about. It's like we're so individualistic, both on the female and male side. I don't know if you caught Jack's video he dropped today, but that's something he kind of like harps on. Is like we're all like trying to survive individually, you know? And it's like in the US, it's like we're taught to, or we were, right? It's normal for us to be 18, 19, 20 and like go off to college, be on our own. And in a lot of other cultures, you have multi-generational housing, you know. So we're kind of been taught this. I'm like I said, I'm later 20s, like on the end of a millennial. But yeah, like you can't really do that anymore by yourself. You gotta have you know, partner or you have to rely on your brother, sister, family, someone. But people are just delaying that as long as they want. Think they can do it all by themselves, and by the time they're old, it's like you already lived all your life. Like, I don't want to be a 40-year-old dad, you know? Like, why would circling back, it's like, why would you want to be, it's like you're starting off as a grandma if you're having a kid as a woman, right? Freezing your eggs, like, in your late 30s. It makes no sense.
Well, yeah, no, a good point. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Agent. I thought the same way, but I'm 36 and I still have no children, and I would hate to try to rush this part of my life to just try to catch up. I thought I'd be a dad by now, to be honest with you. I think you said you're 27, 28. I thought I'd be a dad by now, and I'm not. And sometimes I do have this kind of FOMO going on where I was like, oh man, like I'm missing out. I should have a family, a house, and all that. Um, but I'll tell you what, I did everything else that I think I could do, and that's like get my life together. I grew up, I matured where I'm in the mental state and the financial state to be a father in a sense where I got all the resources I need to start the process, right? But I am gonna take the extra time we do have as men to wait till I find someone, so I'm just not having kids frivolously. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully it works out different for you, agent. I hope you find someone early on, but I would say people at my age, for men wise, you know, even if you have a kid and when you're 30 years old, by 40 you're gonna have a 10-year-old. Granted, is older than what I'm gonna be when I have a 10-year-old. But you're still going to be, you know, still a father until you're what, in your 50s, right? You're going to still be like a relatively active father if you're starting when you're 30 years old.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
I don't know. We'll see, but it's in summation, I think it's just detrimental on the woman's end to wait. The longer a woman waits, is like, come on, we all know, biology. But you still have time, and I have a lot of friends too that are at that point where well, we need to get over. I think the foremost problem now is like housing. How can you start your kingdom without a house or a property?
Without a castle, exactly.
Forget the relationship part. How can you really own anything as a man, or a woman, if you don't have your own, space to develop? It's really insane. And a lot of my friends feel the same way too. They're like, oh, I don't even know how I'm gonna afford. Like, I could barely afford rent, or I had to move back after college with, or I'm buddying up with 3 or 4 other people. It's like that needs to be the first step, in my opinion, and then we could all worry about the relationship part. But it's not getting any easier. So I don't know. I've been looking at property out of the country actually. So
Where?
yeah, I want to go. Cape
The
Town,
Poland?
South Africa.
Oh, you're looking at? Oh man, bro, I would love to look the woman out there. Whew, find a wife
Yeah,
out there like nothing.
I I kid you not, a house that would be. Again, I'm in like SoCal, so it's like a 4-4 with like a 3-4 with all the land you want and a in-ground swimming pool. It's like $200,000 in Cape Town. You take that same house over here, that's like multi-million-dollar house minimum.
So wait, what did you say they had again?
Uh, Cape Town. Wait, what was your question?
What's that house? What's the features of the house?
It's very weird, the development in Cape Town. You have the different suburbs, but basically like a 3 or 4 bedroom, 3 bath or 2.5 bath is like at the most like 200,000, and you get everything. I'm talking about like pool, land, like 2-3 car garage. Like it's insane.
Let me look into that because that
Yeah,
sounds
so
interesting.
our money to the I think it's the rand. So $1 is like 18 rand right now. You can find apartments like a 2-1 apartment for 1 million rand, which would run you about 42,000 USD. And then the house out there, a typical house is like about 2.5 million rand, and then that would run you, I think, a little over 100K, 120K USD.
Hmm.
But you get so much land. You're not like on top of, well, yeah, you're not like sitting or breathing right on top of your neighbors. So, and you're on the coast, bro. You're beach living, and you have like all I don't know, just like Google Cape Town, South Africa. They have like beautiful hikes and nature out there as well.
Yeah, I got some. Here, I'm going to share my screen. I found some properties, and I'm curious if you could kind of decode what I see here because I don't understand what I read here. Even though I used to be a realtor, or technically I'm still an active real estate agent, I don't get what this means. All right, so they're the Remax of South Africa, which I think is kind of funny. that this brand is worldwide like that. But here's a 4-bedroom house in Otterley. I don't know where that is, but it says R329500. So is that 3 million, I guess, of their money?
Yeah, exactly. 3.3. And that's like your luxury. Just like look at it.
Yeah, they got a
You got a
pool.
house.
And this is
sorry,
South
swimming
Africa,
pool.
correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
South Africa.
I was going to say, you take that currency that's being printed, that's being shown and displayed on that screen. I'm thinking if you copy that and paste it when you look up a currency exchange site or something, and I'm sure you can find a ton of them if you just type in the currency exchange websites on the Google search engine. I'm sure it'll tell you exactly how much US dollars that would be.
Parking for
Yeah,
6, one lounge, a pool.
3.2. I think it's like under 150K for sure.
Hmm.
What's income like? What's the economy like in South Africa? Can you make a living out there, or you'd have to really make American money to move out there?
Well, that's that's my that's where I'm like trying to do more research. Is like if I were
Mm,
to make a move, I don't think the current company I'm at is international. It's an S&P 500. It's like top 500, but yeah, that's the problem. But I think they're slightly behind the curve as far as like business opportunities. Because if you look at just the development alone, it's like most of these properties and just their technology, like you look at like even the TVs there, they're like 10, 15 years behind us, I believe. Unless
I
like
can imagine.
you're
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean there's a lot of opportunities in the business, like if you want to be a startup, like a DBA or whatever would be the equivalent out there. But I mean buying a house that cheap, I don't know. It's just it
Yeah,
gets you
because
thinking a lot.
there's other things you want when you buy a house, right? Like so you get a lot of you could get a lot of house in these places, but you definitely want infrastructure to support it, right? Like you want resources that you could to make it a realistic move. Um, or else, like to me, like if that's not a good exchange, then moving to let's say Texas or South Carolina might be preferable, you know?
Or I hate to say it, Mississippi.
Or yeah,
Because let's face it,
the South.
the more ignorant a locale is, and a homophobic, bigoted, and whatnot, typically the lower the property values are. I know it's screwed up logic, but it seems to be that seems to be the way it works, unfortunately. Because the more
Yeah,
liberal a place is, the more tolerant, the more expensive thing. Because you get the coastal elites, the neoliberals, the S-libs. I won't say the word because I don't want you to get demonetized, but I'm sure you know where I'm going at with this.
right, right. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, I couldn't monetize last live stream we did. It's all good, but I had to take that on the chin and realize that
Yeah.
I got to do a better job giving housekeeping rules. Let's try to see if we can find a conversion. This is actually an interesting topic. I want to see if I can find a conversion rate. Their money's called the rand. You said?
Yeah, I just put a South African rand and then the conversion. Last time I checked, it was like a week or two ago. The ratio was $1 to 18 rand would be the equivalent.
Yes. Let me do one here.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like I definitely want to go. I'm definitely gonna visit either late this year or next. I want to go see what's all about. I mean, they're English. I think pretty much it's English speaking. Even their they even have like their typical stuff. Like everything's in English out there. I don't know what the dialect is out there or if it varies. Um, among around the country there, but most of them are English speaking uh, citizens there.
No, that's I'm looking at townhomes because townhomes to me are like the supposedly supposed to be like in some countries the more luxury homes, believe it or not, on average because they're part of communities and stuff. But so let's say this home, right? This then looks like what? It's let's see the price. The price is 4,995,000. So let's try to do the math. That divided by 18. Let's see, calculator here. 4,995,000. Okay, 3 zeros. So 4 million, almost 5 million divided by 18. Yeah, it'd be 300,000 for this townhouse. Which, by the way, let's see, it looks pretty good for 300 grand. You could not get anything where I'm from that looks like this for 300,000. That's for sure. My dad just bought a townhouse that was like 700 grand. And yeah, and it's a nice townhouse too. I won't lie, but he doesn't have a pool. His backyard. That's for sure. Yeah, this for 300 grand, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 3 baths, 2-car garage for 300. Yeah, this is a steal. I would love to see what the neighborhood is like though, for sure.
But as Mr. Morgan also said in his last broadcast earlier this evening, you have to wonder what all the costs would be involved in terms of its upkeep and maintenance, the pool notwithstanding. That could
Yeah,
be
no,
pain.
that's a good point.
That HOA will kick you in the butt. Yeah.
Oh, HOA, they're I hear
Yeah.
nothing but horror stories from those awful
Yeah.
individuals.
Doxy Trash said, "LOL, no Target or Walmart though." Yeah, I wouldn't miss those per se. Maybe I would miss a Target, but definitely not a Walmart.
Target is I hardly go to Target. It's crazy how expensive it is. If anything, I'd probably go to Walmart before any Target.
I agree. Besides, I have a Target closer to my house than a Walmart. Nevertheless, I consider a Target a Walmart for yuppies.
Yeah, I'm the yuppie that you're describing.
Well,
but hey, I don't disagree with you. That's why we call it Target in my circle. Target.
Where I'm from, it's funny because Target is like your more bougie, demographic. But and I'm in SoCal, so more homeless. There's we have homeless, in every city it seems now over here. But there's more homeless people outside of the Target where I'm at than at Walmart, and it makes no sense because like
you're in
Target's supposed to
SoCal?
Yeah.
What part of SoCal?
Inland Empire.
Okay. I know Inland Empire.
Yeah, so like 60 miles south of LA, and then of course north of San Diego. So pretty much equidistant. A little bit further from San Diego.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like this one's for 28 million. Camps Bay.
Yeah, another spot. Another coastal area I have my eye on is I think it's pronounced Malaga, Spain. I might be butchering that, but it's a coastal city, couple hours away from Barcelona. I think it has about a little over a million or so people living there. But one cool thing about that, or a lot of those I think a lot of the European cities, now I've never traveled abroad, so I wouldn't know. But a lot of their transportation, like city transportation, is pretty, they're pretty good at that. Like a lot of the people that live there, they don't even own cars or whatnot.
Well, like this spot here is really nice, but this is 2 million. But this spot is nice.
Is that a townhouse? I wasn't even.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Townhouses because I know townhouses are places that could afford to build luxury homes in abundance. But bro, they have glass stairwells. Glass with the wood. Look at this pool on this side here. This kind of odd shaped pool looks like it's on a rooftop.
I'm also wondering what other potential grifts they may have over there, and by that I mean, here stateside we have property taxes, which all but guarantees you that you will never own a home. You're just a glorified renter with extra.
No, I think the rest of the world doesn't have property tax.
They don't.
Yeah, America's. I don't. Yeah, it's an American. Like, all right. So in my country in Trinidad, once you own your house, you own your house. I think that's pretty much it. I could be wrong on that, but I don't know if they changed it by now. But I'm pretty because the whole point of private property is there's no real liberty without private property. That's the whole concept is that, So the fact that America doesn't have private property,
we used to.
we don't. Yeah, we used to. We don't have any real freedom. Let's say I'm gonna play places. I'm gonna look this up while you guys are talking, but places where there's no proper countries with no property tax.
But is there something else they're using? What's the expression? Robbing Peter to pay Paul? I don't think that's the expression, but there's, is there something else they're using in places?
Right.
Is there some other form of grift that they call it something different, but in essence means the same? There's a lot of that too, in other ways. Like Florida.
So I found a list of places. Let's see. Bahrain, Georgia, Dominica, Israel, Cayman Islands, Cambodia, Qatar, Kuwait, Monaco, Malta, Turks and Caicos, Cook's Island, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Fiji, Croatia, Sri Lanka.
Saudi Arabia, God help you if you're a woman or gay over there, though. And two, you also have. I'm also wondering two other factors. One, political stability, and two, how they regard a foreigner, i.e., us, as well as myself, coming in there and expecting to be given the VIP treatment simply because I'm spending American dollars in their native country. How much resentment that would stir, and how much animosity that would generate. And how many people who are admittedly smarter than me, who are native there, who would try to take advantage of me and probably succeed in doing so.
Looks like the most popular one's Cayman Islands.
If any of you are familiar with the channel called Thinking Ape, he's kind of touched on that to some extent. That the whole passport bro mentality, the whole finding love and lifestyle elsewhere in some other country across the globe may not necessarily be the peaches and cream fantasy that you're thinking it is, because there may be dangerous factors you have to take into consideration.
No, absolutely. Doxy Tri said, just seems like the upkeep would be high if shopping isn't convenient. Yeah, to keep it real with you, shopping around the world isn't convenient. America is a place that has Amazon, but in my country, Trinidad, there's no Amazon. There's just no infrastructure for it. Berto MK7 says, "What's up, Shay? What's up, my brother? Appreciate you having you here in the live. I'll put the link in the chat if you guys want to join. Also, make sure you like the live, and if you're not subscribe to the channel. We're talking about other places to live. Agent Crypto kind of introduced the idea of living in South Africa, so we're kind of toying with that. Which, by the way, this place, I'm going to keep kind of scrolling through here. This place looks great for $2 million. I don't know where it is, what it is, but the view, the deck, everything looks like stunning. The open concept vibe, yeah, I could get down with that. Absolutely. But it costs $2 million, so, you got $2 million to move to. You get a lot more there than you get here for $2 million, I swear. So I live in New Jersey, and Westfield, New Jersey is, we call the millionaire row. Like, essentially in Westfield, New Jersey, the median household is $1 million, which is a mansion and by New Jersey standards, because we have something called mansion tax in New Jersey. And that means every property that costs over $1 million is imposed a separate tax called mansion tax, which is 1% for every dollar above $1 million. So it's
Shape, was that recently introduced? Because they're trying to do that in LA.
I don't know when it was introduced, but I found out about it when I became an agent. So I don't know how long it's around, but it's around. It's an additional 1% for every dollar above $1 million. So starting at $1,000,001.
Stupid question though, and yeah, I probably know the answer already. But they're factoring in the cost of inflation. I mean, if 5 years from now $1 million is equivalent to 250 grand, something tells me they're not, because they're politicians, and the more they take away from you, the less they're willing to give back.
Yeah, Evasion 100 says catching up at 2 times speed. Appreciate you, Evasion. Please like the video and tell me how you like what's going on. Uh, it's funny because it was on Jack Morgan Live that one girl said, and I'll never get over it. She said that the the he said
The Starlink lady, right, from yesterday.
no, and I'm sorry, I'm looking at the comments, just throwing me off a little bit. But she's pretty much said that Alan Greenspan said that we could guarantee you any amount of money, we just can't guarantee you its purchasing power.
Purchasing power. Yeah.
Which was which is exactly what Venezuela probably did, right? Because Venezuela money's not worth anything, and so it doesn't matter. It's kind of like a billionaire. Everyone's talking about billionaires, but a billionaire nowadays is not the same it was like 10 years ago. So Kim Kardashian, all these people are billionaires, but they're billionaires with inflation. They're not, effectively what a billionaire would have been 30, 40 years ago.
I'd take billionaire over broke any day, buddy.
Apparently, the United States has the most billionaires, more than any country in the world. Apparently, consider the source, Facebook meme. I didn't really look at, but that and yeah, I just get that.
A lot of them live in New York. There's Billionaires Row in New York, Park Avenue.
Some between that and Social Security tax being capped at what is it, 250 grand? If people were paying into that tax, regardless of how much they make, there wouldn't be a Social Security shortfall in the next 10 or so years, if that were the case. But
yeah, Social Security is probably going to run out, but we'll see. I don't know. It's kind of it's whether it runs out or not. I think what's going to be more likely is that the money that you're guaranteed won't be worth anything. And that's kind of everyone's trying to save millions of dollars to retire, but the question is, what can millions of dollars buy 30, 40 years from now? Probably substantially less. Because you got to think about it, right? Like a house back in the day was like 30 grand.
And if we had a flat tax based on expense, and everything were taxed based on what we buy, I gotta think to myself, the powers that be, the elites, the oligarchs, they wouldn't like that here in this country, because that would, even the dumbest among us would think, well, wow, I'm spending essentially a sales tax, a combined state, federal, local sales tax of 30, 40 plus %. And so I'm going to only buy what I need and not what I want. And like I said, Kellogg's and, Walmart, Target and whatnot, they wouldn't like that, because then, this country is built on, junk spenders and debt and, parasites and leeches and whatnot.
It's unfortunate. I mean, the whole economy of America is based off of losers.
A farce. Or
it's you think about like how much doctors make in this country compared to other countries. It's to be a doctor in another country is like to be a teacher.
And yet they're not not all of them are the happiest people, because there have been quite a few doctors, dentists too. Dentists especially have the highest rates of, I can say, self-deletion.
Self-deletion. S aside. Yeah. Alberto says, if it was just me, I would not buy a mansion, a big old house for one person living there, and have a 3-bedroom, 1-bedroom. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a truth today. Really quickly, Dr. Trash says, "Shape. Watch that later. Watch what later? I don't know what you're talking about. But we can get to it." Dr. Trash also says 30 years equals 1,560 weeks at $1,000 income a week equals 1.56 million after 30 years. I don't know. You got to explain that better, but I kind of see what you meant here. That'll take 30 years to buy a $1.5 million house if you're earning 1,560 a week, which is what, 6,000. One income. That means $50K a year. Yeah, you'd make $1 million after 30 years. Yeah, making $50K a year. Yeah, you won't. Yeah, I think
Assuming, of course,
yeah.
that your average middle-aged adult, or even someone in their late 20s, your average late 20s something, to say nothing of the younger people, aren't influenced by the latest fashion trend, the latest trend here, car trend, by mechanics, video games, or other nonsensical purchases that they may think they need, but in fact want and aren't, dissuaded otherwise. And then also to not say anything about them starting a family and then having the wrong person that they marry into, as you started this broadcast with, who then takes them for half of everything or more than half of everything, and kids who are turn out to playing a lottery, because it's not necessarily guaranteed that the kids you have are going to be successful. They could very well be POSs who find themselves incarcerated for the rest of their lives at a young age, or become drug addicts. So there are a lot of factors, a lot of cautionary negative factors to take into consideration. That formula, 30 years equal 11560, under the most ideal circumstances, under the most pristine, and well, life gets in the way. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, and then divide that by a third because that goes to taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're when it comes to like money, like we're in a weird place, and this is why like it goes back to the whole loneliness thing that we're talking about. Is we really need each other, because when the world is in a chaotic place like this, the way to really restore it is to come together.
We need a social democracy.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that we need what Norway, Finland, again, this is my opinion, Norway, Finland, even Germany has had for the longest time, a social democracy. Um, we also, a part of that would probably include being or having our institutions, our corporations and whatnot taxed at the rate that they were during the Eisenhower years, 70, 80, 90%. You know, single, one person works, the other person stays at home, raises the kids. It doesn't necessarily, in my worldview, it doesn't have to be the woman exclusively. It can be, if you want to be Mr. Mom, that's fine. Take away the social stigma of that, thanks to the movie that starred Michael Keaton back in the 80s. And among other things that need to be fixed and reoriented and retweaked and retooled, infrastructure wise, and other things. And to boil it down, what I said is the best way I can define at this point in time what a social democracy would be in the United States of America. So that also includes single payer healthcare, because how many people work jobs they don't like, can't stand? How many people I work with who are boomers, older boomers, who are still working jobs they can't stand simply because they can't afford the medical bills?
Yeah, I don't mind some social programs. The biggest issue with social programs is you're giving the government the power to take money from one person and give it to another. And morally, I look at that as theft. So I can't legitimize a lot of our social programs because they only work if the government steals from one person and gives it to another.
Are
Like,
people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, are they themselves not glorified thieves? Maybe even more so.
I can't consider so. And listen, there is a negative to capitalism for sure. There's not all positives, but socialism is government theft. Capitalism is built off of persuasion. So if I could persuade you to part with your money, that's a lot different than being compelled by law to give your money up. And so, like, it's kind of the idea of collectivism versus individualism. And so, collectivism means like one for all for one type of thing, mob rule type of. That's kind of collectivism. You know what I'm saying? If we'll take a vote, right? And remember that phrase, like if a chicken and a pig, if you ask a chicken and a pig what's for breakfast, a chicken will say, bacon and eggs. Chicken just has to lay eggs, but the pig has to give up his life. Is the idea that like, and that kind of, I don't know if that came out kind of wrong, because did come out kind of wrong. But the other point to it is, it's almost like saying if we if we vote for the masses, this this idea that the group gets to vote, the group is more important than the individual, rather than the individual is more important than the group, is the idea that one, groups don't exist, right? Like never confuse the forest for the trees. So like forests, like the idea that forests don't exist, they're just a bunch of trees, individual trees. So it's kind of it's an abstract idea. It's not really a real idea. And so when you look at it like that, groups don't exist, individuals exist. And so if you take something that doesn't exist and give it power over things that actually do exist, that's immoral.
But you're assuming that you're giving these groups, let's say government, unlimited, unrestricted access to said power. I don't see that happening with term limits. I also don't see that happening with electoral reform, election reform. I also don't see that happening with multi-party elections, proportional representation. And I do see what happens when you let the capitalists have free reign of everything. Capitalism, unrestrained capitalism, in my opinion, turns to fascism, where you have a marriage between the public sector and the private sector. The public sector being used as the enforcement wing of private sector interests. Of course, we don't call that fascism here. We call it crony capitalism, but it's essentially the same thing anymore, just as much as a prolonged recession now that Biden's in office and he has his little sycophants and whatnot redefining things. They call it a prolonged recession, when in fact it is now considered a depression. A prolonged, I have that wrong. Prolonged period of economic decline is what they call it, when in fact it is a recession, since we have more than two periods of negative economic growth, but they don't want to acknowledge it.
They redefine what a recession is.
Wait, what did you say, Crypto?
So when we had that period of time where we had I think it was negative GDP, was it GDP?
That's a recession. Yeah,
but they didn't, and it's crazy how we're always back. But the data and the consensus of what's happening is always backwards looking. So we didn't know that we were like, the 2008 crash, right? Well, we didn't know that we were in a recession until or they didn't, publicly say, oh yeah, we were in a recession, depression, until years later. So yeah, just putting that out there.
I want to mention this because I like that you talked about fascism, and I think I want to address this. Fascism only exists because we have lobbyists. And so if we could take money out of politics, we wouldn't have fascism. The problem is that these companies could lobby for their certain laws that they want passed. If we just outrule that altogether, which should obviously be illegal anyway, we wouldn't have this capitalistic problem that you're speaking about. All capitalism is as a basic form is free markets. Let the markets kind of regulate themselves to an extent. It's not to be completely unregulated, right? But the more you regulate it, the more you create an oligarchies compared to a marketplace where anyone could kind of join the marketplace.
All the more reason why you should have term limits on all branches. And
I'm glad you brought that up too. I want to address that really quickly, and then you could go. The problem with any of these things is that even if we try to kind of put boundaries around the power that you're describing, absolute power corrupts absolutely. So even if you try to contain that power, you might contain it for a moment, and then the next year people vote that power and kind of extend the boundaries. It's no different than when the government said, all right, we're going to lock down for a few weeks, but then that few weeks turned into years. It's just like it's everything could be justified. Like they only need a little bit to start it off. And then from there, they're going to push out the boundaries.
Or the undemocratic restrictions that were placed on us post 9/11 that are still in existence today.
Yeah, I really am for small government, and I believe that we shouldn't even be governed, right? We should be protected, right? So we should have a common, a sort of common welfare towards protecting the common interests of the common man in America.
I am for responsible
Nationalism.
government. So,
Yeah, well, that's hard because, like I said, there's lobbyism, and so how can they be responsible when they get paid to be irresponsible? People
And
are
how
only
can
going to
we
do.
be
Go ahead.
sorry? And how can we be responsible government if we're deficit spending year over year for the past decades? 30,
by
40
getting rid
years?
of two political parties that have existed for well over 150 years, that's a good start. And like I said, another good start would be term limits in the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, as well as electoral reform, transparency in the financing of elections, for example, and lobbyist reform, if not elimination. That's And well, Shape, you made mention of the dangers of collectivism versus individualism. Yet I can recall on two occasions that both you and the other guest here, Crypto, um, made in remarks to hyper individualism and the dangers therein that lie in that, especially since women have a um, they go from hyper individualistic to downright entitled, the sense of entitlement.
Well, the whole thing about collectivism is back to what I try to say. If we have 9 people, we can't say, okay, 8 people's vote is has a priority over the individual vote. So here's an example of that, right? If you have, and this is where we talk about mob rule. If we had majority rule, then the majority will always control the minority. And the idea is that shouldn't be the case because it suggests that morally, no matter if your group is small or large, you have God-given rights.
Well, I don't see how what I'm advocating would eliminate or dishevel the republic.
Well, because if you're compelling that we all contribute to, let's say, a fund, and that fund is dispersed, like redistributed in a way that, let's say, some politician gets to decide where it goes, that's essentially collectivism because it's the idea is that in order to help a small group, the larger group needs to contribute money.
And it doesn't go there.
Huh?
I said, hopefully it doesn't go there. I mean, we do have.
No, but that's kind of the whole point of taxes is that, like, I don't mind. I don't mind that we all come together like this. I think, okay, so when it comes to politics in the way that we're describing, I think you should have socialism inside your household, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, a sort of socialism in your household and capitalism in the free marketplace, like outside your household. So meaning like, yeah, your mom and your dad and your family pull money together to take care of the family as a group. That's a family, but I think that those powers really can extend past the family. Like to the idea that we need to all pull our money to raise the quality of life for someone else. I think we should do that through charity. I don't think we should be compelled to do that. I think if you want to donate your money to help the people that are poor or the unfortunate, that should be something that you choose to do, but you're not forced to do.
There was an interesting broadcast on the Patrick Bet David program where he said that there was a gentleman, and I'm paraphrasing and can only vaguely recall, that he said that I am a Republican neocon. When it comes to international relations, nationally I'm a Republican. I'm a libertarian. Locally, I'm a Democrat, and in my house, I'm a downright socialist.
Right, and that's kind of what I mean.
That was interesting.
Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what I mean. Because, like I said, like, it's immoral for me to have to be responsible for another man's child. But it should also be moral if I decide to, through charity, help another man's child. I just shouldn't be compelled to.
So are you against public education?
I am against public education. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because public education is no good. Public education. Put it this way, right? I mean, if the government, if the private sector is where all the good stuff is, right? If you go into an Apple store, right? That's the private sector. If you go into the Apple store, beautiful store, right? Now, if you go into your local post office, why is the local post office not look better than an Apple store? And the post office is compelled by the government. It's night and day. Or if you look at FedEx Kinko's compared to the post office.
Actually, I don't think the post office is sponsored by the federal government. I don't think it has been sponsored.
Local
by
government. Sorry, I'm sorry. You're right. It's
Nixon
a local
administration.
Government. Right. No, local government. My apologies.
But
it's still the public. It's still the public sector, though.
It is.
It's not the private sector. I mean, they might have privatized some things about government, but they're still sponsored by the government. So, they're largely in the public sector. But the whole point I'm trying to mean to you is that, or like the DMV, right? The DMV is the public sector, right? It's not really privatized. Look at the DMV compared to the Apple Store. It's like the DMV is so backwards, so outdated. And that's really, the government really wastes money in a way that the private sector couldn't waste it, because if they waste the money, the private sector would go out of business, where the government would just get larger, because they'll say, well, we need more money. Like when Barack Obama was supposed to make Obamacare, and he designed a website to kind of initiate Obamacare, and that website crashed after they spent $1 billion on it. My dad, who works in IT, and he works in the private sector for like investment banks, he said, if that was my team, we would have done it for a lot less than $1 billion, because for $1 billion we would have made not only one website, but probably 1 billion websites that could actually function. But he's saying that we had all lost our jobs. But in government, you blow $1 billion on a website that doesn't work, and guess what? The government just asks for $2 billion next time around. And this is the issue with the public sector, is that there is no real accountability when things don't go wrong. When things go wrong in the government, they just ask for more money. Oh, look, we failed with this. We need more money. We need more trillions of dollars. We go more further in debt. When the government starts failing, we just go deeper in debt. Where a private business would go out of business and just fail. Let me read some of the comments, because and then you guys could definitely respond to this. Evasion Hunt said most business success in this country is from crony original zoning laws. I agree. That's a public law. I agree with those, which advantage a small real estate clique for decades. Yeah, that's wild. He also says, why does Dallas even exist? LOL. One of the clearest examples of pure crony made up city. Yeah, I don't know anything about that. Alberto says public education is outdated. Very much so. We all know that a lot of people who work as public school teachers send their kids to private school. That's just a fact. Alberto also says Rockefeller invested in it because he wanted a tribe of workers. Yeah. Public education, it should not be as poor as it is, but we've realized that people need to send their kids to Montessori's, which is a type of school, or private schools in order to get the best education. You would think that our country would have people learning 2 languages from a young age, like like third world countries do. I mean, if you go to Guatemala, if you go to different countries around the world, I'm trying to think, maybe even France, people are learning 2 languages from the jump. They got English classes and French classes, or as far as Guatemala, English classes and Spanish classes since you're very young.
But France, if we're talking about France, we're also talking about a country that their neoliberal president at the time, I don't know if he still is the president, Macron, was doing his damnedest to lower the retirement age from 60, raise it rather, from 64 to 67, and you had millions or whatever people rioting on the streets. They called it the yellow vest protests, and I saw this. I know this because I watched the live streams on YouTube back in December and early January of 2018, 2019. So, we're also talking about a country that has socialized medicine. We're also talking about a country that has proportional representation, multi-party elections.
No, and I'm agreeing with you. And we're also talking about Guatemala, that they're a country that's failing their infrastructure greatly. All I'm just trying to say is that, but they managed.
I'm just saying context matters.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just trying to say they've managed with their public schools to teach people two languages as an example, which to me, bilingualism is somewhat of an achievement in these school systems. Where America, we have kids that says all they can say is agua when they graduate high school.
Yeah, that's crazy. But it's more about bad management more than,
Right, but it gets managed poorly because of these governments, because they have lobbyism. They'll take all the money as a pool and invest into the one thing who pays them the highest bidder. Like I said, we could clean the swamp quickly in the government if we make lobbyism illegal. Like if we really make that an illegal thing, it'd clean up everything. Like we'll get rid of this idea of fascism because it's not an inherent negative about capitalism. I think people confuse that the capitalism is just a free marketplace, where socialism is not a free marketplace. And we don't want a marketplace where it's extremely ruled and controlled by the government.
And I'm saying what I'm saying is you need a hybrid mix of the two, a better managed hybrid mix of the two.
No, I don't think so at all. And the reason why I say you don't at all, because realistically, a free marketplace is you're free to succeed, but you're also free to fail. If you have a government system, whereas a non-free marketplace like a socialism, you're not free to fail. Like when we had government bailouts for car companies that made poor products that no one wanted to buy, they weren't free to fail. We call them too big to fail. That's the aspect of what you're talking about that actually doesn't work.
And I would say they got that way because they went out of their way to use their extra profits and their revenue to influence public sector employees, politicians, and whatnot to make laws that ruled in their favor.
Lobbyism.
So which in turn tells me that pure capitalism is as unrealistic a goal as is pure communism. Two extremes of the same coin that cannot happen. 100%.
So you don't think if we
human nature prevents that from happening. Human nature prevents. Yeah,
we've made certain things illegal, and I don't see why lobbyism. The only reason why we don't make lobbyism illegal because there's no one lobbying for no lobbyism. You know what I'm saying? There's no. We should be lobbying for that as the American public, right? We're the ones that stand the greatest to be the greatest beneficiaries of that. But we don't. This is where we could pull our money in a charity wise to lobby against lobbyism.
That would require uniting the plebes. Plebes. That would require coordinating and forming an alliance with all plebes. And I would say good luck with that because
with all police?
No, plebeians.
Okay.
The working class.
Right. And you're absolutely right. It won't work. And this is where fascism takes over, is that fascist groups and industries are united. Right, you have the dairy industry, you have the meat industry, you have the tobacco industry. They're united in a way, even though there's antitrust laws. Right, they're united in a way where they donate as an industry.
Yeah, they found ways around that. Absolutely, they found ways around antitrust. Absolutely.
Oh, of course, and so did the real estate industry, and that's why they got sued, and they lost their lawsuit. They lost their lawsuit because of their antitrust laws. Technically, there was no set 3%, 5%, 6% commission. And you could negotiate it, but if no one did business with you, if you try to negotiate for less than that price, so therefore it's kind of like a antitrust law, as a kind of like a trust. But no, the only point I'm trying to say, and this is a good conversation, is just that we blame capitalism for issues that have nothing inherently to do with capitalism, in my opinion. It has a lot more to do with how our government allows our politicians to become billionaires, millionaires in office. Barack Obama started as a poor man from Chicago, and he left the White House as damn near a billionaire. How can that happen other than lobbyism? Right? Exactly. He's getting paid to do his job, and we all knew, and that's why people like Trump. I know people don't like him, but some people looked at him like he could fundraise on his own, and he doesn't need to take any money from any particular industry, to do something he doesn't want to do because he's rich on his own.
because he's inherited a sizable chunk of that too. Don't forget.
I know people say that, but he flipped $1 million into damn near billions. So it's kind of I can't look at that as an inherit. He probably, if anything, he inherited a good work ethic from his grandfather and his father. That's what I would say. Listen, I know people don't like him. I'm not here in defense of him either. He's not a perfect person. No one is. He's an overweight man in his 80s. I wouldn't be overweight in my 80s, but I am a personal trainer, so he's not a flawed man, or a man that's not flawed. But I would not discredit his achievements, and he wrote a great book, The Art of the Deal, and I think it's a cult classic. I think it's a great book.
YouTube of all places has that available for free. You can listen to the whole thing, which I have.
Did you read it?
I had it read to me, technically speaking, as an audiobook, but yes.
Did you like it?
It had interesting points. The whole Koch thing, Mayor Koch, his battles with then mayor of New York City.
Yeah. You talked about the ice skating rink?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, bro. And that's what I'm trying to say. The public sector ruins everything. The Trump is an example of how the private sector really works better than the public sector. It really does, bro.
Okay. But I wish, if anything, the Trump of 1998 or the Trump of now, especially as it pertains to the fact that he tried to make a run and ultimately lost the nomination to Pat Buchanan when he tried to run as a Reform Party candidate, the same third political party that Ross Perot served as the head of when he went against the powers that be between William Jefferson Clinton and George Herbert Walker Bush back in 1992. I wish he'd have stuck to his guns and ran again as a third party candidate. I would have had more respect.
He probably knew he wasn't going to win. He knows that people are party loyal. It really is a two-party system that we have here, and there's other parties. I'm technically more of a libertarian than any of those parties, but I know that there's no libertarian candidate that's going to really win in any significant way unless he decides to join, the donkeys or the elephants.
And that's what will damn this country, one way or another.
It's hard to really say because, to be honest with you, I don't even know what the parties mean anymore because, the traditional liberalism is essentially gone. We have extreme left, and the traditional conservatism, as far as the right is gone too. Like, they're both gone. Like the liberals of the past are nothing like, the liberals of the Antifa type liberals we have now. I mean, it's night and day. It was respectable to be a liberal 30 years ago. Now it's kind of like a joke in the sense of that is attached itself to these ideas that really are about identity politics, and it gets caught up into just turning people into groups rather than looking at us as humans as a whole. I think we don't have to be grouped as a people. We are a group already. We're humans, right? I mean, we're already a group. We don't need to be further grouped. I think this is a big misstep. Because if the identity politics says that some groups deserve more resources than other groups, that works until your group becomes the other group. And that's what ends up happening with these type of laws is that, we're doing this kind of reverse racism thing where it's like, we're going to try to correct the Americans past by making it damn near illegal to be a white heterosexual male because you're not a protected class now. Now you're like you are
being punished for a crime you yourself did not commit.
I'm sorry? I
said you are being punished for a crime that you yourself did not commit.
Yes, because it's your group crime, right? Like you are, like your prime identity is your group, and I don't believe in that. Just like you said yourself, like even though you may be a gay man, you don't believe being gay is a monolith that you have to think a certain way.
No.
But that's your perspective. A lot of people look at it that way. That if I'm gay, I must wear a rainbow. I must support this. I must support that. It comes with it comes with a group of ideas that you must have, and it's like I don't think that's right for your group, nor either for the blacks or for the people who want to be Republican or Democrat. Like we all should be individual in that way. And yeah, I think identity politics is just it's just we've went too far woke, if you will, and
Too much pandering on both sides, but on this case, in this election cycle, more so on the left than on the right. But pandering runs amok. I mean, what conservatives use? Conservatives love to use the word woke, but to me, I've come to understand, largely thanks to South Park, that wokeism is a form of pandering to left-leaning, more extreme elements of the left, whereas jingoism and feel-good patriotism and shining city on the hill rhetoric is just as much the conservative equivalent of wokeism in the terms of pandering to the right.
Yeah, I think we'll never have a perfect scenario in any of this stuff. And that's kind of people are looking for this. Where's the utopia in all this? And I don't think there is a utopia, but there definitely is a dystopia. So that's we got to worry about the dystopian direction that I think America is heading towards.
Yeah, it seems like,
and that's kind of,
as far as Hollywood or classic Hollywood depictions of the future are concerned, it seems to me that we're more or less headed for Paul Verhoeven RoboCop or Blade Runner or Alien franchise style of future than we are towards Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek depiction of the future.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore. I couldn't agree anymore. Agent, you still there, my brother? Agent Crypto. He might be falling. He might have fell asleep.
No.
He might have fell asleep. All right. So I think this is good here. Agent, you there?
Yes, sir, man. I was just listening to you guys go off. So yeah, chilling.
Cool. Yeah. Feel free to chime in too. I don't want to make it just sacred cow and shape show. We're trying to make it a show for everybody. This is for the viewers for sure.
As your channel grows and expands, I'm sure your goal will be more fulfilled over a period of time.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna help you guys. I'm gonna give you guys what you want I'm gonna get what I want by giving other people what they want. And I'm here to serve, really. And I think it's great that we have an opportunity for all of us to have this conversation online and interact. That's it's a positive thing. I've never met you, Sacred Cow. I never met Agent Crypto. I never met Doxy, Alberto, Evasions Hunter. None of these people, but it's great that we can come together and just have these discords, because let me tell you something, bro. This didn't exist 30 years ago.
No.
This wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't exist when we were kids either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We couldn't compare notes. We're here having a discussion, and we're getting a lot more of what needs to be done than the government, in my opinion, in these little conversations, because we're just having healthy agreements and healthy disagreements, and it's important. We don't have to be the same color, none of that stuff, to come together and have a conversation. Because you know what? At the end of the day, I assume that I could learn from you guys, and I hope that the opposite is true. We all could possibly learn from each other. That's kind of what this is. It's all about. Doxy Trash said, "It's all good. It is all good. It was good, and now it's not good anymore." I guess you're talking about the conversation. Yeah, the conversation was good. I appreciate you guys. Let's try to wrap this up. I'm gonna wrap it up a little early. I do got a company party to head to. One of my managers is heading back to Greece because he got a job in Greece, and he's Greek, and he's heading back to Greece.
Congratulations.
He's having a go away party. This is the downside of having 3 jobs. All my energies diverted in 3 different places.
there aren't enough hours in the day. 24 hours just doesn't seem long enough, does it?
Yeah, it's frustrating, bro. I don't wish this on anybody, but you know what? As men, this is what we got to do to really advance our careers and advance where we want to be. You know, I live in a studio apartment. You know, it's a very modest living. I work 3 jobs, including YouTube, and I want to be able to take care of
Well,
myself with YouTube at one point.
also,
So,
as Mr. Morgan said earlier, um, we now live in a day and age where you're more looked at as weird if you don't have a side hustle, whereas 30 years ago, if you did have a side hustle, you were looked at as strange since you were expected to have made enough 30, 40, 50, especially 50 or 60 years ago, um, working one job, a career, and supporting yourself as well as your family. Whereas now, you're expected to have 2 or 3 jobs and to work yourself ragged,
yeah, I don't want
even
to
if you're
lie.
single.
I agree with you. I don't want to lie and make it seem like I have 3 jobs to survive. I have 3 jobs to thrive. You know what I'm saying? So essentially my 3 jobs, I could survive for one. The other 2 is to thrive and grow past where I'm at now. So Dr. Trash says the hours are long, the years are short, bro. You ain't kidding me, bro. That's well said. I don't know where you got that from. If you just made that up, bro, you need to quote that. That's very true.
Very insightful.
Yeah, the hours are very long. All right, let's take this out in a positive way. Agent Crypto, you got something positive to say to take the live out?
Hmm.
He's sleeping, man. He does the keyboard drilling. All right, go ahead. You should go Sacred Cows. We'll see if Agent Crypto types in.
Just as before, all who are paying attention and watching, check out my channel, like, subscribe, shares. Is the only thing I'm going to do in the future? No, I have other channel ideas, more serious ones, more polite ones, hopefully ones that'll make more money, lined up. But I'm just trying to get the recognition. So anything helps in terms of liking, subscribing, and sharing.
Okay. Fire. Crypto signed off. That's fine. Someone else tried to pop in as Agent Crypto. It must have been someone else. My positive thing to do is to say. Oh no, he's back on here. All right, Agent. I'm about to add you in. You can cam off. Agent, you're good. Agent, you're good.
Yeah, sorry, I lost my connection.
No worries. You got any positive words to end the live? Tell to the
Yeah,
viewers.
so I got if you're not where you want to be in life, go outside first, touch some grass, get a book or get a pen, get a paper,
Mm-hmm.
and write down your goals. What do you want to do in the next six months to a year? There's power in writing, pen to paper,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps you, gather your thoughts, or it helps me at least. There's that famous saying, people don't plan to fail or plan to fail, they fail to plan. So just my 2 cents there.
No,
I like that.
that's a great way to put it. I don't know if I could top you guys, but all I would say is my positive words is appreciate those around you. I appreciate you guys for joining my lives. You don't have to. I appreciate everyone in the chat. I appreciate the people that called in. Sacred Cows, Agent, you guys, very appreciate it. Please, if you want to have this conversation, we'll have another conversation on Thursday at 9 and Sunday at 8. Tune in. This is your live stream just as much as it is mine. Use my platform, benefit from it. I'm going to keep growing, but I'm going to keep allowing people to call in and give their piece, and hopefully we could build a community of people that allows open discussion and free thought. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining. Check out the replay, like this live stream. Sacred Cow, you have a good day, my brother. I appreciate you. Agent Crypto, you have a good day, my brother. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you guys on Thursday at 9.
All right, take care, everyone.
Yes, sir. Peace and love.